Hello everyone and welcome back to a new school year full of countless opportunities and new experiences. I hope that during this year you achieve all of your dreams and especially that of succeeding in the back exam. In order to do so, you already know that you need to study really hard and to focus on all of the subjects that you have at school. Among these subjects is, of course, the English language, which we will try to work on improving together. Alright? With that being said, let's start with looking at our first unit, which is Archos and Holidaying. Now, this is the first lesson, and it is entitled Holidaying. And in this video, we will look at some of the important vocabulary that you need to know in order to be able to talk about holidays. Okay, so here we will look at the pictures, read these definitions, and write the suitable words for each definition. And of course, we will match them with the right pictures. All right? Now, the first definition we have is the American term for holiday. So this tells us that British people say holiday. Okay, this is for British English. But what do Americans say? They don't say holiday, they say vacation. So now we know that vacation and holiday are synonyms, okay? This is the American word, and this is the British one, okay? Great. Now, which picture is related to vacation and to holidaying? Oh, this one. Yes. So this is number one. Good. Now we move on. A person who is on holiday. What do we call someone who is on holiday? Now, you know that during summertime especially, many people from other countries come to visit Tunisia. Okay, so what do we call them? We call them tourists. Yes, so we're talking about a tourist here. Okay, and where is a picture of a tourist? Oh, there it is. You put your clothes and belongings in this. Where do you put your clothes and belongings when you go on a holiday? You put them in the suitcase. Great. Wonderful. And then we have the place where you go to take a plane. What do we call the place that you go to in order to take a plane? We call it the airport. The airport. And this is a picture of an airport, of course. And then we have, if you go camping, you need to sleep in. So you need a tent, of course. You need a tent to sleep in. A room or building in which someone may live or stay, such as an apartment, a hotel, a guest house, etc. What do we call all of these? We call them accommodation. So the word accommodation refers to the place in which you can stay, such as an apartment or hotel or a guest house. And here we have different pictures of different types of accommodation. I'll write number one, because this is number one here on this page. This is what the word accommodation means in Arabic. Al-iqama, okay? Wonderful. So you look at it to help you find places and to avoid getting lost. So what do you need to look at when you don't know the direction? You need to look at a map. We call it a map. This is a map. Of course, nowadays we have Google Maps, so you don't really need to carry a traditional map with you. Okay? So avoid means يتجنب. And getting lost يعني يضيع. All right. An official document with your photo. You need it to go to a different country. What do we call it? We call it your passport, of course. This is your passport. All right. When you eat outside, and the word outside is the antonym of inside. في الداخل, and this is في الخارج. Normally sitting on a blanket. So here, this is a blanket. Okay? This is a blanket on the floor. Okay. So what do we call this? This is called picnic. Okay. Picnic. A ticket entitling the holder. The holder. يعني الحامل. الشخص اللي يحملها. Okay. A ticket entitling the holder to travel on an aircraft. So the keywords here are ticket and traveling on an aircraft. So this is your flight ticket. Okay. And the verb we use is to book. To book a ticket, which means to reserve. Okay, and here also with accommodation we say to reserve or to book a room. A room, which means يحجز. Okay. Now we move on to another set of definitions. We have a house with wheels. What does the word wheels mean? So here we have wheels. You know, a car has 4 wheels. A car has 4 wheels. Okay? These are called the wheels. So, what do we call a house with 4 wheels? It's called a caravan. A caravan. And of course, this is the picture of a caravan. A place to go with your tent or caravan. So when you go camping, you need to go to a camping site. Or we call it a campsite also. Campsite or camping site. And this is a picture of a campsite. So there isn't only you, there are so many other people with their caravans or with their tents. To travel or hike, carrying one's belongings in a backpack. And of course, this is a picture of 2 backpackers. So the noun is backpackers, backpacker, the singular, and backpackers, the plural, because we have 2 people here. And the verb is to backpack, okay? And here we are referring to backpacking. A place to stay with lots of rooms. Here we have lots of rooms. What do we call this? This is called a hotel, of course. Suitcases or bags that you carry when you're traveling. What do we call them? You know the word, I'm sure. We call them luggage. This is the British word. Okay, luggage, and the American word is baggage. So luggage and baggage are synonyms. And of course, here we have our luggage or baggage. And finally, we have these definitions. A person who receives or entertains other people as guests. So we have guests, and the antonym is hosts. Hosts, okay? And here we are referring to a person, one person, so host, singular, but the antonym for guests, the plural, is hosts, the plural. Okay, and here we have the picture of a guest and a host. So, which one is the guest and which one is the host? We can see that the person who is carrying a backpack and a suitcase is the guest. Okay, and this is the host. The host. Okay. I prefer being a guest rather than being a host. I don't like having people coming to my house. What about you? A printed sheet of paper. Okay, so the keywords here, sheet of paper, sometimes folded, containing information or advertising, and usually distributed free. So we are talking about a brochure. Like when you go to a travel agency, they give you a brochure with the beautiful destinations, or we can also say a leaflet. And the word folded here means مطوية. Now, a group of islands. First, let's understand the meaning of an island. An island, this is an island. Okay, this is another island. This is another island. So an island is جزيرة. Okay. A group of islands, like here we have different islands. We have a group of islands. What do we call it? We call it an archipelago. So this is an archipelago. Okay. Like the seashells you have in your book. Finally, all the visible features of an area of countryside or land often considered in terms of their aesthetic appeal. Aesthetic appeal means الجاذبية الجمالية, something like that. So they're really beautiful. And we're talking about an area of countryside or land. It's beautiful. So we're talking about landscape. Or we can say scenery. Or we can say scene. All of these mean منظر طبيعي. And of course, this is the picture that can match this definition. And this is number 3. All right, wonderful. Now, this is another vocabulary exercise, and in this exercise, we look at the differences between tour, trip, journey, expedition, outing, and excursion. All right? Great. Now, what do we mean by the word tour? Let's look at the definitions. Let's read them all together. So we have A, a visit to a new environment, usually for a short period of time for pleasure or business. B, a planned trip to visit a few landmarks or points of interest. C, a pleasure trip, excursion, picnic, or the like, lasting a day or less. D, traveling to many different places during one trip. E, a trip designed for discovery and furthering of knowledge. And finally, F, the amount of traveling required to reach a destination. So, which definition is the definition of the word tour? Tour goes with D. Traveling to many different places during one trip. So, if you go on a tour of a country or on a tour of a continent, you go to different places during one single trip. Okay? We can translate this in Arabic by saying this. Okay? Now, trip. What is a trip? A trip is a what? A visit to a new environment, usually for a short period of time, for pleasure. It can be a trip for pleasure or for business, okay? That's why we say a business trip. We don't say a business tour, or business journey, business expedition, business outing, or business excursion. No, we only say business trip. So we have 2 plus a, and this means this in Arabic. Now, journey. What is a journey? Journey describes the amount of traveling required to reach a destination. Okay? So 3 plus f, and it means safra. Okay, so I tell you, I hope that you had a nice journey, or I hope that your journey wasn't very tiresome. Okay, good. Now, expedition. What is an expedition? So let's cross out the definitions that we have matched. So we have D, we have A, and we have F. So we are left with B, C, and E. So what is an expedition? An expedition is a trip designed for discovery and furthering of knowledge. Okay, so you go on an expedition to discover, to explore, to deepen your knowledge, to broaden your knowledge. Okay, so this is E. So we can say this in Arabic, رحلة استكشافية. Okay, now we have outing. What is an outing? An outing is a pleasure trip, excursion, picnic, or the like. Okay, والمثل ومثل ذلك يعني. Lasting a day or less, so it's very short trip. Okay, so this is for an outing. Like we say in the Tunisian dialect, we say kharja. Okay. Now, finally, we are left with excursion, which means a planned trip to visit few landmarks or points of interest. So when you go on an excursion, you visit the important landmarks. Okay. B can say also promenade. Okay, wonderful. Now, here we will look at the 2 different ways in which people can spend their holidays. So you can either have an active holiday or a passive holiday. So what do we mean by an active holiday? So in an active holiday, you are active, you are energetic, you are doing something, okay? But in a passive holiday, you're just passive, you're just sitting or chilling, you just make little to no effort, okay? All right. Now, we will put the different activities under the appropriate category, either active holidays or passive holidays. So now the first activity we have is going to museums. So, is going to museums considered to be part of active holidays or part of passive holidays? Of course, when you go to a museum, you just look at the different paintings or sculptures or pieces of art, and that's it. You make little to no effort, so that's why it's considered to be passive. Going to museums. And museums are this in Arabic, okay? Now we have skydiving. Skydiving. This is a picture of skydiving. So you jump off an airplane, okay? This is very adventurous and very risky. So it is active. Okay, skydiving. Then we have attending concerts. concerts, or we can say shows, plays, etc. So just go, sit, listen to the concert, watch the show or the play, and that's it. You make little to no effort. That's why it is considered to be passive. Attending concerts. Then we have hiking. Hiking. This is the meaning of hiking. Here we have a group of hikers, okay? And of course, they walk, they jump, they run sometimes. So they are making effort, okay? That's why this is active. Hiking. Then we have playing video games. Of course, this is absolutely passive. Because you sit on your couch and you merely play video games. You do nothing else. You're making no effort. Then we have surfing. Surfing. Here we have a girl surfing. Okay, so this is the meaning of surfing. Surfing is a kind of sport, so yes, it is active. Then we have canoeing. What is canoeing? So here, the boy right here is canoeing. Okay, the boy is canoeing. All right, and canoeing is active. Canoeing. Then we have sunbathing. Sunbathing. This man right here is sunbathing. So he's just enjoying the sun, okay? He's not making any effort. So this is passive. Sunbathing. Then we have watching TV. Of course, this is absolutely passive. Then we have skiing. Skiing. The woman here is skiing. Okay, and this is active, skiing. And finally, we have surfing the net. This is one of the most passive things to do. Okay. How do you prefer to spend your holiday? Do you prefer to have an active holiday or a passive holiday? For me, I enjoy both, actually, because sometimes I feel like being active and going out and playing sports, etc. And some other times I just feel like chilling and relaxing and doing nothing at all. Okay, great. Do you sometimes wonder why you have bad grades at writing? Well, the problem can be with your sentence itself. And in this video, we will look at how we can construct good and correct English sentences. Okay? So we will look at the following sentences and find the mistakes, if there are any. So our mission here is to find the mistakes. If there are any, that means probably there is a sentence that does not have any mistakes. So let's read the first sentence. Henry used to watch TV and reading a book before going to bed. How do you feel about this sentence? Do you feel that it is correct? Or do you feel that there is something wrong with it? When you hear it, Henry used to watch TV and reading a book before going to bed. Normally, you should feel that there is a problem with this sentence, okay? So where do you think the problem is? The problem has to do with this form. It's the ing form, yes? It's verb plus ing. But here I have bare infinitive. So why do I put bare infinitive here and verb plus ing here? This is the problem. I don't have the same form. I have Henry used to. Used to should be followed by bare infinitive. So used to plus bare infinitive and not plus verb plus ing. Here I have bare infinitive. So here I should have bare infinitive too. So how can we correct this? Henry used to watch TV and what? And read a book before going to bed, because we said we need verb in the bare infinitive. This is the bare infinitive. Bare infinitive means verb without to. Okay? This is the meaning of bare infinitive. So bear this in mind. Okay, now we move on to the second sentence. Mary and John play the piano, the guitar, and are playing the drums. Is there a problem first? Yes, there is. And where is it? Can you locate the problem? Can you find the problem? Again, there it is. Are playing. Which tense is that? This is the present progressive. Yes? And here, what do I have? Mary and John play. This is the simple present. And here, what do I have? I have a set of nouns. The piano, the guitar, the drums. And we can use the verb play with all of these nouns. Okay? So I don't need to repeat the verb play. And I don't need to change the tense. Donc, لا نعاودوه ونبدلو التنس. So, how can I correct this? Mary and John play the piano. This is my first noun. The guitar, my second noun. And, what should I write? And the drums. I should simply omit this. Now, the third sentence. If you want to succeed, you need to study very hard and listen to what your teachers say. So what do I have here? If you want to succeed, you need to plus bare infinitive. And here I have bare infinitive study, very hard, and this is my second verb here, listen to what your teachers say. That's correct. So I have bare infinitive here and bare infinitive there. So this sentence is correct. Now we move on to the last sentence. Lily is tall. Let's highlight the keywords. Tall, skinny, and she has a beautiful face. She has a beautiful face. Okay. What do you think? Is there a problem with this sentence? So let's identify the nature of these words. So Lily, this is the name of a girl. Tall, this is an adjective. Skinny, which means she is slim. So here, this is another adjective, slim or skinny. These are adjectives. And then here, what do I have? She has a beautiful face. Is that an adjective? No. So this is not an adjective. So the problem is with this one. We need an adjective. We need to have an adjective. So how can we get an adjective? We need to turn this into an adjective. She has a beautiful face. If she has a beautiful face, that means she is beautiful. So my sentence becomes Lily is tall, skinny, and beautiful. Okay, you see? If you understand this, you will be able to write correct English sentences. So the common problem with the previous sentences, this one, and this one, has to do with what? We said here there is a problem with the form. Here we have the problem with the tense. And here we have a problem with the structure, the sentence structure. So, repeating the same form, tense, or structure is what we call parallelism. Parallelism. In other words, if you put a verb in the bare infinitive here, you need to put a verb in the bare infinitive here. If you have a noun here, you need to have a noun here. If you have an adjective here, you need to have an adjective here. So your sentences should be parallel, okay? You need to construct parallel sentences, okay? It's like this in Arabic. Okay, you need to write grammatically correct English sentences. Okay, good. In this video, we'll look at how to express preference, and the word preference means this. Okay, so we will talk about our preferences. So we have two ways, either to use prefer plus to plus infinitive, or it can be also followed by a gerund. Okay. A gerund, and a gerund is verb plus ing. Okay, so either you say prefer followed by to infinitive or gerund, or you can use would rather plus bare infinitive, and we said that bare infinitive is verb without to. Prefer and would rather are synonyms, okay? So you can say prefer or would rather. They both express preference. Alright, so now here we will complete with prefer or would rather, and we need to mind our grammar. When I was a child, I to have passive holidays. So here, do I have bare infinitive or do I have to plus infinitive? To have passive holidays. To have, what is this? Of course, to have, this is to infinitive, so I should write prefer. When I was a child, I prefer, and which tense should I use? When I was a child, this tells us that we should use the simple past. وقت اللي كنت صغير. I'm no longer a child, I've grown up. I should add another R and ED of the past. So, when I was a child, I preferred, this is the simple past of the verb prefer, to have passive holidays. And we talked about passive holidays and active holidays, okay? However, which means but, now I have active holidays. Here I have without to. So I have bare infinitive, so I should use would rather. So, however, now I would rather have active holidays. What if I want to use prefer? However, now I prefer to have active holidays, so I need to add to. Okay, good. Where you spend your summer vacation, and this is a question. You can see the question mark here. So we need to write an interrogative sentence. But first, let me look at my verb. Is it in the bare infinitive or is it to plus infinitive? Spend, this is the bare infinitive, so I should use would rather. Okay, so where, very simply, I should write here would, where would you, this is the subject, and then add rather after you. So where would you rather spend your summer vacation? This is how we ask a question using would rather. The answer is I spend it in Bali. Spend, bare infinitive, so I should write would. I would rather spend it in Bali. And remember, in the question we have would rather, so the answer should have would rather too. Okay, that's another kind of parallelism while asking questions and giving answers. I walking to driving. So here, what do I have? I have walking. This is a verb plus ing, so this is a gerund. So I should write prefer. I prefer walking to driving. Why? Because when I walk, I get to see more of the place and the locals, the people who live in that area. And here I have walk. This is a bare infinitive, so I should write would rather. I would rather walk than drive. Remember, when we are comparing two things, we should always use then. And we write then with an A, not with an E, okay? Here we have another question. You to travel solo, and solo means alone, or to travel with a family member or a friend. So here we need to look at our verb, to travel. This is to infinitive. So I should use prefer. And with prefer, I need an auxiliary verb to help me, because prefer is the main verb, but we need an auxiliary verb, and this auxiliary verb is do. So do you, I write my main verb, which is prefer, do you prefer to travel solo or to travel with a family member or a friend? I prefer to travel with a family member or a friend. Now, we have another question. You be a guest or a host, and we have seen the meaning of guest and host. Here I have be. This is bare infinitive, so it's be without to. Then I should write would. Would you rather be a guest or a host? I'd rather be a host, or I'd rather be a guest. Okay? And finally I have I not travel to a hot country. And here I have the negative form. This is the negative form. So I added not. We need to just ignore not, donc interfere not, and we look at the following verb, which is travel. It's in the bare infinitive. So we can write, I would rather not travel to a hot country. And the abbreviation of would is apostrophe D. So I'd rather not travel to a hot country. Okay? Good. So the apostrophe D stands for would. Remember this. Okay? Wonderful. Have you ever felt confused between used to and be used to? If your answer was yes, then you're not the only one, because this is very confusing. Now, let's try to read these two sentences and see if they have any difference in meaning. Now, I used to travel solo, and we said solo means alone. I'm used to traveling solo. Is there any difference? Well, the answer is definitely yes, there is. When I say I used to travel solo, then I'm talking about a past habit. Okay? This is a past habit. It no longer happens. In the past, I used to travel solo, but now I no longer do that, okay? Probably now I travel with my friends, or I travel with my husband and kids, etc. So I don't travel solo anymore, okay? Now, what about I'm used to traveling solo? Is this a past habit? No, it is not. You can tell even by looking at the verb be, which is in this simple present. So this is not a past habit. This is something that I've become accustomed to. I've become accustomed to traveling solo, okay? At first, that means traveling solo was strange for me, okay? In the past, it was strange, okay? But then I gradually got used to it, and then I've become accustomed to traveling solo. I can tell you now I'm used to traveling solo, so it's no longer strange and it doesn't scare me anymore, okay? So this is the difference between used to and be used to. Now, if you look at the structure, there is also a difference in the structure, okay? So I have used to plus base form, yes? So this is base form. And I have be used to plus verb plus ing, or we call it gerund, okay? Now let's try to practice by doing this exercise. Now in this video, we will differentiate between used to plus base form and would plus base form. We can remark that they are both followed by base form. However, what are the differences between these two expressions, used to and would? Now, we can remark that they are both used to talk about past habits. Okay, so if you want to talk about a past habit, you can use either used to or would. Now, for used to, it is used in order to talk about repeated actions in the past, and you can use it to talk about past states. Let's have an example for each. A past habit, for example, when I was a kid, I used to cut my hair really short. Now, for repeated action in the past, I used to visit my grandma every weekend. And for past states, and the word states means this, okay, I can say, I used to love sweets, or I used to be happier, etc. Now, these are examples of states. Now, for would, it is also used to talk about past habits, but it is not used to talk about past states, okay? With past states, we can only use used to, and we cannot also use would with state of verbs such as love, be, understand, and feel, all right? Now, this is one of the main differences between used to and would. Also, would should not be used unless it has been established that the time frame is in the past. So it should be shown since the very beginning that we are talking in the past, all right? Great.